a World Cup champion, Oxford graduate, and Playboy cricketer, read one book about a 13th century Sufi mystic and transformed into Pakistan's spiritual political leader. Here's the secret, hidden in those 40 rules. Picture this. London 1980s, the most eligible bachelor in Britain, Tramp nightclub in St. James, mystery blondes on his arm, Imran Khan, the name that made hearts race and headlines scream. But here's what nobody saw coming. This man who conquered cricket pitches would soon conquer his own ego. The transformation didn't happen overnight. It started with a crisis. Ron Drashti's satanic verses explodes onto the scene. Muslims worldwide are outraged. Imran, living in the West, faces anti-Islam prejudice head-on. He wants to defend his faith but realizes something shocking. He doesn't know enough about Islam. What happened next changed not just Imran's life, but the destiny of 220 million Pakistanis. This moment of realization sparked what Imran himself called, "my period of greatest enlightenment." He dove into the works of Ali Shariati, Muhammad Asad, Allama Iqbal, and Guy Eaton. He studied the Quran deeply. But one book would hit differently. One story would resonate so deeply that decades later, as Prime Minister of Pakistan, he would recommend it to his nation's youth. That book was The 40 Rules of Love. When Imran Khan opened Elif Shafak's novel, he had no idea he was about to meet his spiritual mirror. Published in 2009, The 40 Rules of Love tells two parallel stories separated by 800 years. Story 1, 13th century Konya, Rumi. Not the Rumi you know, the mystical poet whose verses are recited at weddings and Instagram posts. No, this was Rumi, before enlightenment. A respected Islamic scholar, traditional, rule-bound, intellectual, but spiritually asleep. Then one day, a wandering dervish named Shams of Tabriz walks into his life. Story 2, 21st century America, Ella Rubinstein, a 40-year-old Jewish housewife, comfortable but numb, 3 kids, successful dentist husband, perfect suburban life, and absolutely miserable inside. Her job? Reading manuscripts for a literary agency. One day, a manuscript lands on her desk. What these two stories share will explain why Imran Khan transformed from nightclub regular to mosque regular. The manuscript Ella reads is about Rumi and Shams. As she reads their story, she begins her own transformation. The parallel is deliberate, intentional, brilliant. Here's what captivated Imran. Rumi was at the top of his game. Respected scholar, successful teacher, admired by everyone. Sound familiar? Imran was at his peak too. World Cup captain, cricket legend, Oxford educated, international celebrity, but both men felt empty inside. Then Shams enters Rumi's life and asks him questions that shatter his worldview. You study religion like others, but you don't live it. Where is your submission? Where is your surrender? Rumi crumbles, his ego dies, his scholar's mind breaks, divine love awakens, and here's the part that made Imran Khan cry when he first read it. For 40 days and 40 nights, Rumi and Shams locked themselves in a spiritual retreat. When Rumi emerges, he is no longer a scholar. He is a mystic, a lover, a poet. The Rumi we know today. His transformation was so complete that his own students couldn't recognize him. Imran Khan saw himself in this story. Before you start listening, don't forget to subscribe and comment for more. Among the 40 rules, 6 fundamentally rewired Imran Khan's understanding of power, purpose, and politics. Imran spent his youth in the shadow of colonialism. He admits it freely. I considered my own culture backward and religion outdated. Elite Pakistani schools produced replicas of British public school boys rather than Pakistanis. He read Shakespeare but not Iqbal, Pakistan's national poet. This rule shattered that colonial inferiority. If you see God as distant, judgmental, harsh, you see yourself as unworthy. But if you see God as loving, merciful, close, you see yourself as having infinite potential. Imran's transformation began here, reclaiming Islamic identity not as inferior, but as a source of strength. You can study God through everything and everyone in the universe, because God is not confined in a mosque, synagogue, or church. This rule demolished sectarianism in Imran's mind. In the book, Shams doesn't care about religious labels. He sees God everywhere, in prostitutes and saints, in Christians and Muslims, in sinners and scholars. Why this mattered for Imran? He married Jemima Goldsmith, Jewish-British heiress, in 1995. But Imran had internalized this rule. Love transcends religious boundaries. Later, when he founded his political party PTI, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Movement for Justice, this universalist approach shaped his vision for Pakistan. Imran's mother died of cancer in 1985. The grief nearly destroyed him. He channeled that pain into building Shaukat Khanum Memorial Cancer Hospital, Pakistan's first free cancer hospital. Everyone said it was impossible. Pakistan was too poor. Corruption would steal the funds. The project would fail, but this rule sustained him. Even in the darkest moments, find meaning. Even in pain, find purpose. And when Pakistani politicians mocked his hospital dream, Imran remembered what Shams told Rumi about opposition. The true Sufi is such that even when he is unjustly accused, attacked and condemned from all sides, he patiently endures, uttering not a single bad word about any of his critics. This became Imran's political philosophy. For 22 years, 1996-2018, opponents dismissed him as a one-seat party. He endured, never gave up, maintained dignity. Little did his critics know, they were creating Pakistan's future prime minister through their opposition. In politics, most leaders respond to attacks with attacks. But Imran, influenced by Sufi principles, developed a different approach. Absorb the criticism, stay focused on the vision, let time prove you right. Don't worry about the ideas you don't have yet, let them come on their own. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. This rule shaped Imran's relationship with Mian Bashir, his spiritual mentor Pir. After years of reading, studying, searching, Imran was ready. The teacher appeared. Mian Bashir guided him deeper into Islamic mysticism, prayer, and submission to divine will. In 2018, Imran married Bushra Manaka, Mian Bashir's disciple, and a spiritual healer herself. The playboy who once dated British socialites now married a woman who wore full hijab and practiced Sufism. Critics mocked it. Imran didn't care. He had found his spiritual center. A life without love is of no account. Don't ask yourself what kind of love you should seek, spiritual or material, divine or mundane, Eastern or Western. Love has no labels, no definitions. This is it, the culminating rule, the one that integrates everything. Imran's journey, from material success, cricket, to spiritual depth, Sufism, to political power, prime minister, all driven by different expressions of love. Love for mother, Row hospital, love for nation, politics, love for God, transformation, love for truth, Row persistence. And on October 3rd, 2020, Imran Khan posted something on Instagram that revealed everything. What made a sitting head of state publicly recommend a Sufi romance novel to his nation's youth? October 3rd, 2020. Pakistan is in COVID lockdown, economy struggling, opposition attacking, international pressure mounting. Imran Khan opens Instagram and posts, "This October, I suggest our youth to read The 40 Rules of Love by Elif Shafak, an inspirational book about divine love, Sufism, Rumi, and his Murshid Shams Tabriz. I read it a few years back and was deeply inspired." The reaction was explosive. Within 24 hours, 40 Rules of Love trended across Pakistan. Bookstores sold out, publishers rushed reprints, university students formed reading circles. But here's what's deeper. Why this book? Why this moment? Imran wasn't just recommending a novel, he was offering a roadmap for transformation, the same one he had traveled, because Imran Khan understood something that most politicians miss. You can't change a nation through policy alone. You must touch souls, you must inspire transformation from within. Pakistan's problems weren't just economic or political, they were spiritual, corruption, injustice, moral decay. These aren't solved by laws, they're solved by transformed hearts. This was Imran's vision. Use Rumi's wisdom, channeled through Shafak's storytelling, to awaken Pakistan's youth to higher purpose. The parallel is stunning. Just as Rumi was a respected scholar who needed Shams to awaken him, Pakistan was a nation with potential that needed spiritual awakening. Just as Ella was trapped in comfortable numbness until that manuscript arrived, Pakistani youth were trapped in materialism until Imran pointed them to deeper meaning. But Imran's book recommendations didn't stop there. Earlier in May 2020, he recommended Lost Islamic History, about Islamic civilization's rise and fall. In December 2020, History of the Parthans, about his own Pashtun heritage. But the 40 Rules of Love held special significance. It was personal. It was transformational. It was the book that changed him. Let's go deeper into why Imran Khan's life mirrors Rumi's so perfectly. The before state. Rumi before Shams, respected Islamic scholar, teaching traditional religion, intellectual but not experiential, following rules without spirit, admired by society, empty inside. Imran before awakening. Rumi Papsigdua, international cricket star, living Western lifestyle, Oxford-educated elite, following worldly success, admired globally, empty inside. Imran before awakening. Rumi Papsigdua, international cricket star. Both men had everything the world values. Both men knew something was missing. Both men were ready for transformation. Both men found their catalyst. For Rumi, Shams asks, "Are you a scholar or a lover?" For Imran, Salman Rushdie Crisis asks, "Are you Western or Muslim?" These questions shattered comfortable identities. Rumi couldn't be just a scholar anymore. Imran couldn't be just a Playboy celebrity anymore. And here's where the story gets even more fascinating. Rumi and Shams' 40 days in spiritual retreat, Halwa, Imran's equivalent. Years of study with Ali Shariati, Muhammad Asad Iqbal, intensive Quran study, mentorship under Mian Bashir. Both withdrew from their previous identities to forge new ones. But transformation always brings opposition. Rumi's students were furious. "Shams has corrupted our master." They eventually drove Shams away. Historical mystery, possibly murdered him. Imran's critics were relentless. He's become a Taliban sympathizer. He's lost his Western friends. He's a religious fanatic now. In the book, Shafak writes, "The past is an interpretation. The future is an illusion. The world does not move through time as if it were a straight line, proceeding from the past to the future. Instead, time moves through and within us, in endless spirals." Their transformation wasn't about rejecting the past, it was about integrating it into a higher synthesis. Imran didn't reject Oxford or cricket, he integrated them into Islamic values. Rumi didn't reject scholarship, he integrated it into divine love. Rumi emerged as the greatest mystical poet in Islamic history. His Masnavi became the Quran in Persian. His poetry transcended religion. Muslims, Christians, Jews, Hindus, atheists, all find wisdom in his words. Imran emerged as Pakistan's 22nd Prime Minister, 2018, founded Cancer Hospital, built University Namal, created political movement based on justice, became voice for developing world at UN. Both men became bridges. Rumi, between Islam and universal spirituality. Imran, between East and West, tradition and modernity. But what exactly does the 40 Rules of Love teach that created such transformation? Let's go deeper into the philosophy that reshaped Imran Khan's worldview. In Sufism, the biggest barrier between you and God is nafs, ego/lower self. Shafak writes through Shams, "Most of problems of the world stem from linguistic mistakes and simple misunderstandings. Don't ever take words at face value. When you step into the zone of love, language as we know it becomes obsolete. That which cannot be put into words can only be grasped through silence." What this meant for Imran: his ego was massive. World Cup captain, international celebrity, used to being worshipped, but Sufi teachings demand ego dissolution. You're nothing. God is everything. Stop seeking approval. Stop defending yourself. Stop claiming credit. Attribute everything to Allah. This is why Imran's speeches changed. He started every address with Bismillah, in God's name. He attributed victories to divine will, not personal brilliance. His critics called it fake religiosity, but anyone who read the 40 Rules of Love understood this was ego death. Traditional religious teaching often emphasizes fear of God, fear of hell, fear of punishment. But Rumi's Sufism, as portrayed in the book, emphasizes love of God. The path to the truth is a labor of the heart, not of the head. Make your heart your primary guide. Imran spoke about this transformation explicitly. In his article My Journey into Religion, he wrote, "I read scholars like Ali Shariati, Muhammad Asad, Iqbal, Guy Eaton, plus of course a study of the Quran. The greatest impact of believing in God for me meant that I lost all fear of human beings." This fearlessness would define his political career. When Imran launched PTI in 1996, everyone said he'd fail. The system was too corrupt, the elite too powerful, the establishment too entrenched. For 22 years, he endured mockery, defeat, humiliation. 1 seat in parliament in 2002, 0 seats in 2008. Whatever happens in your life, do not enter the neighborhood of despair. East, west, south or north makes little difference. No matter what your destination, just be sure to make every journey a journey within. But the inner journey must express itself in outer service. Shafak writes, "If you want to change the way others treat you, you should first change the way you treat yourself. Unless you learn to love yourself fully and sincerely, there is no way you can be loved. Once you achieve that stage, however, be thankful for every thorn that others might throw at you. It is a sign that you will soon be showered in roses." For Imran, this manifested as Rumi and Shams, Shaukat Khanum Memorial Cancer Hospital, 1994, provides free cancer treatment, serves 75% patients for free, funded entirely by donations. For Imran personally fundraised, going door to door. Namal Knowledge City, 2002, University in remote Myanmar, provides quality education to underserved based on Bradford University model, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, 1996. For notice the pattern. Every project serves those forgotten by the system. This is pure Sufism. Rumi's poetry constantly emphasizes serving the downtrodden, feeding the hungry, housing the homeless. Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop. Nas, Rumi. Translation: let go of what no longer serves, focus on giving life to others. The concept of integration, not rejection. Here's where the 40 Rules of Love differs from fundamentalist Islam. Fundamentalism says, reject the West, reject modernity, return to 7th century. Shafak Sufism says, integrate wisdom from all sources. God's truth appears in many forms. You can study God through everything and everyone in the universe. This allowed Imran to value his Oxford education while embracing Islamic identity, appreciate Western democracy while advocating Islamic welfare, marry outside his culture, Jemima, while deepening faith, use modern cricket celebrity to fund traditional charity, apply Western organizational skills to Islamic political vision, and this integration philosophy became the foundation of his prime ministership. So how did a Sufi romance novel shape Pakistan's governance? More than you'd think. August 18, 2018, Imran Khan takes oath as Prime Minister. His inaugural speech references Riyasat Medina, the State of Medina model. Critics dismissed it as empty rhetoric. But those who knew Imran's spiritual journey understood this was the 40 rules of love in political action. The Medina model, through Sufi lens, Prophet Muhammad's governance in Medina emphasized justice for all, including non-Muslims, welfare for poor, accountability of leaders, rule of law, moral example from top. This parallels Rumi's teachings: be like the sun for grace and mercy, be like the night to cover others' faults, be like running water for generosity, be like death for rage and anger, be like the earth for modesty, appear as you are, be as you appear. Rumi. Imran's policies reflected this. Ron. Ishas program, compassion, largest social safety net in Pakistan's history, direct cash transfers to 12 million families, named Eshas, an Urdu word meaning deep empathy/compassion. Real filth is the one inside, the rest simply washes off. Fight poverty, clean society from within, transform through compassion, not punishment. Health card system, RON, free healthcare for every citizen, started in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, expanded nationwide. Health is a right, not a privilege. Why do you worry about the future? You know where you're going, it's only the path that is different. Take bold steps toward justice. Don't worry about political cost. RON, stance on blasphemy and religious extremism. Here's where Imran's Sufi influence showed most clearly, and controversially. Traditional approach, harsh punishment, mob justice, sectarian violence. Imran's approach emphasized Rule 13, patience with critics, emphasized dialogue over violence. When French President Macron made anti-Islam statements, Imran wrote letters, gave speeches, but emphasized understanding over hatred. But this approach made him enemies on both sides. Religious extremists, he's too soft on blasphemy. Western liberals, he's not secular enough. Imran was trapped between two extremes, exactly where Sufis always find themselves. Rumi faced same criticism, too mystical for orthodox scholars, too Islamic for secular philosophers. The whole universe is contained within a single human being, you, meaning, the contradictions you navigate externally are reflections of internal integration. Hold the tension, that's where truth lives. The geopolitical manifestation, Imran's foreign policy reflected Sufi non-alignment, refused to be American puppet, angered Washington, refused to be Chinese puppet, maintained independence, reached out to India, despite Kashmir conflict, challenged Saudi Arabia on Yemen, unprecedented, advocated for Afghanistan peace, Sufi bridge building. This world is like a snowy mountain that echoes your voice. Whatever you speak, good or evil, will somehow come back to you. Karma, what you send out returns. Treat nations as you want to be treated. But Imran's Sufi-inspired governance faced a harsh reality check. Here's the uncomfortable truth about implementing Sufi mysticism in brutal political reality. Rumi had it easier. He was a poet, mystic, teacher. He could preach love, forgiveness, ego death without commanding armies or managing economies. Imran didn't have that luxury. Sufi teaching, forgive enemies, political reality, jail corrupt opponents or they'll destroy reforms. Sufi teaching, ego death, humility, political reality, need strong personality cult to mobilize masses. Sufi teaching, patience, long-term thinking, political reality, economic crisis demands immediate results. Sufi teaching, love transcends boundaries, political reality, nationalism required for political survival. In the 40 Rules of Love, Ella faces similar paradox. She finds spiritual awakening through reading about Rumi and Shams. She wants to leave her comfortable but loveless marriage. She wants to pursue her spiritual guide Aziz, but she has children, responsibilities, a life built over 20 years. What does she do? Shafak doesn't give easy answers. The book ends with Ella making a choice, but readers interpret it differently. Similarly, Imran Khan faced impossible choices. Promise Islamic welfare state, but economy is bankrupt. Oppose American war on terror, but Pakistan needs loans. Fight corruption, but need coalition partners who are corrupt. Advocate peace with India, but Kashmir burns. Breach Sufi tolerance, but religious extremists vote. If you want to strengthen your faith, you will need to soften inside. For your faith to be rock solid, your heart needs to be as soft as a feather. But how do you keep a soft heart while navigating Pakistan's brutal politics? Maybe this is the real teaching of the 40 Rules of Love. Transformation isn't about perfection, it's about intention. Rumi didn't become perfect after meeting Shams. He struggled. He grieved when Shams disappeared. He faced criticism from his own students. But he kept trying, kept writing, kept loving, kept seeking. Imran didn't become a perfect Sufi saint. He made political U-turns. He formed alliances with questionable people. He compromised on principles. But he kept trying, kept serving, kept building hospitals, kept fighting corruption. The journey itself is the transformation. So what can we learn from Imran Khan's journey with the 40 Rules of Love? Books can change destinies. Imran was 50+ years old when he deeply engaged with this book. His life was already set. World Cup won, cricket career over, international celebrity established. Most people think transformation is for the young, but Shafak writes, it's never too late to change your life. No matter how old you are, no matter how stuck you feel. Imran proved it. From Playboy at 50 to Prime Minister at 65. Spiritual and material need not conflict. Western narrative, spiritual people reject worldly success. Eastern narrative, worldly success leads to spiritual emptiness. Rumi's Sufism transcends this false binary. You can be in the world but not of it. You can lead nations while serving God. You can build hospitals while building soul. Imran's life embodies this integration. Cricket champion and spiritual seeker. Oxford graduate and Quran student. Western celebrity and Islamic leader. Political strategist and Sufi devotee. Intellect and love are made of different materials. Intellect ties people in knots and risks nothing, but love dissolves all tangles and risks everything. Both are needed. Intellect to strategize, love to motivate. Transformation requires humiliation. This is the hardest teaching. Rumi was humiliated. His students mocked him. His reputation suffered. He looked foolish dancing and reciting poetry. Imran was humiliated, lost elections, called Taliban Khan, mocked as U-turn Khan, accused of being establishment puppet. But humiliation burns away ego. How can you ever hope to know the beloved without becoming in every cell the lover? To become a lover, you must stop being impressive. You must become vulnerable, foolish, obsessed. This is why transformation is rare. Most people won't endure the humiliation required. The personal is political. Imran's spiritual transformation wasn't separate from his political rise. It enabled it. Because he had experienced ego death, he could endure 22 years of political failure. Because he had found God, he lost fear of humans. Because he had studied Sufism, he could build coalitions across sect and ethnicity. Because he had integrated East-West, he could navigate international politics. The 40 Rules of Love taught him, personal transformation precedes societal transformation. You cannot lead others where you haven't gone yourself. Imran Khan's story isn't over. Neither is the story of the 40 Rules of Love. April 2022. Imran Khan is removed as Prime Minister through no confidence vote. His government falls. How does a Sufi-influenced leader respond to political defeat? Life is a temporary loan and this world is nothing but a sketchy imitation of reality. Only children would mistake a toy for the real thing. Imran didn't collapse. He launched the largest protest movement in Pakistan's history. Hundreds of thousands in streets. Hakiki Azadi, real freedom movement. Was this ego or principle? Maybe both. Maybe transformation doesn't mean perfection. Maybe it means continuing to struggle while holding higher values. Shafak writes in the book. Rumi says, don't turn away. Keep your gaze on the bandaged place. That's where the light enters you. The wound is where growth happens. Political defeat is the bandaged place where new light might enter. Since Imran's recommendation in October 2020, Rumi's Pakistani universities created courses on Rumi and Shafak. Turkish cultural centers in Pakistan saw surge in interest. Young Pakistanis started learning about Sufism. Interfaith dialogue increased. Christian, Hindu Pakistanis reading it too. Women's reading circles formed across the country. One student wrote on social media, Imran Khan Sahib recommended this book and it changed my life. I was lost in materialism. Now I understand there's more to life than money and status. Thank you, Prime Minister. This is the ripple effect of a transformed leader. His personal journey becomes a nation's journey. His book recommendation becomes a cultural moment. His spiritual awakening awakens others. Not everyone was impressed. Critics argued. He's using religion for political gain. His Sufism is selective, harsh on some issues, soft on others. He married his spiritual healer. That's manipulation, not mysticism. He recommends Rumi, but governs with realpolitik. Are these valid criticisms? Absolutely. Do they negate the transformation? Not necessarily. Remember Ella's dilemma in the book. She finds spiritual awakening, but still has messy human life, responsibilities, complications, imperfect choices. Imran's story is the same. Found spiritual awakening, but still has messy political life, compromises, contradictions, imperfect choices. Maybe that's the real teaching. Transformation doesn't make you perfect. It makes you conscious of your imperfections while striving for better. Here's what most people miss about Imran Khan and the 40 Rules of Love. This isn't a story about a book changing one man. It's a story about how ideas transcend time and geography. Rumi, a 13th century Persian poet, inspires Elif Şafak, a 21st century Turkish novelist, who inspires Imran Khan, a Pakistani cricket legend, who inspires millions of young Pakistanis, who might one day inspire the next generation of leaders, artists, mystics, revolutionaries. This is the magic of the 40 Rules of Love. It's not just a book, it's a transmission. A spiritual virus that spreads person to person, generation to generation, culture to culture. When Imran posted that Instagram recommendation in October 2020, he wasn't just sharing a book, he was passing the torch, inviting Pakistani youth into the same transformational journey he had traveled. Some took the invitation, some didn't, but the invitation stands. A life without love is of no account. Don't ask yourself what kind of love you should seek, spiritual or material, divine or mundane, Eastern or Western. Love has no labels, no definitions. It is what it is, pure and simple. Love is the water of life, and a lover is a soul of fire. Imran Khan discovered this truth. The Playboy life, the cricket glory, the Oxford degree, the international celebrity, none of it satisfied like love. Not romantic love, though he experienced that. Not familial love, though his mother's death awakened him. But divine love, the love that Rumi found with Shams, the love that transforms ego into service, fear into courage, despair into hope. This is why, decades later, as Prime Minister, he recommended this book, because he wanted Pakistani youth to find what he found, not to become him, but to become themselves, to undergo their own transformation, to find their own Shams, to write their own 40 rules. The story doesn't end here. Somewhere right now, someone is reading the 40 Rules of Love for the first time. Their life is about to change. They don't know it yet, but transformation is already beginning. Maybe that someone is you.